Hello, um, welcome to my Premier League prediction 2021 season. Mr. Bickey has done his, and I'll just put my views across. And yeah, I like to think myself as pretty knowledgeable about football. I like a prediction. So yeah, I'm gonna put my head on the chopping block. Throw my views out there. So I'm gonna the topics we're gonna cover, or the notable things I've been asked to cover, is obviously top four, relegation, the new teams, any notable teams which sort of fit between 5th and 17th that I wouldn't previously mention, and then my full Premier League table prediction. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about each team going from 20th up to 1st, and then review my exact Premier League table finish for the end of the season. So 20th, I'm going West Brom. It's a new team. I wasn't very impressed from last season, to be honest. Them being in the Championship, they did well to go up, but the only reason they did so well is because they used the loan system really, really well. They got Dwight Gale in on loan from Newcastle. He scored 23 goals, I think, last season in the Championship, which is fantastic for him and fantastic for them. But he was on loan. I'm recording this on the 6th of September, and at current they haven't renewed his loan or signed him permanently, which I think unless they do that, then they're really going to struggle. A loan player which performed well last season, which you have signed permanently, is Dean Garner. Excited by him, to be fair. He looks like a tricky little player from West Ham. But I think with West Brom, what they do have is a really good manager in Bilic. He's got Premier League experience, 3.5 years at West Ham. I think there's a lot of links between West Brom and West Ham this season. I think the only thing they have going from really is they've got a good manager. Dean Garner signed, which is huge for them, and honestly that's about it, to be honest. If they can get Dwight Gale back in the door and he's consistent and he regains his form from last season, then maybe they got a chance of finishing higher up. But as things sit, I think they've probably got the worst squad in the league, and so that's why they are propping up the league for me. That's why they are bottom of the Premier League table. 19th is a club that's defied the odds over the past couple of seasons, and it's probably a bit harsh of me to put them down here, considering their previous, but it's Brighton. I think Brighton are going to finish 19th. Really good manager in Potter, which is a positive for them. They've always had good managers. Defensively, they've always been solid. I think they'll be solid again this year with Ben White will be more prominent after his loan spell at Leeds. He performed really well last season at Leeds, and they'll be more prominent now that Shane Duffy has been loaned out. So Dunk and White centre partnership I expect to see throughout the season, and I think it'll work really, really well. They lost Glenn Murray. He's gone away on loan. He's always been, I wouldn't say prolific, but he always bangs in the goal that he needs. I think he's had like at least 10 or 12. He's always hit double figures in his Premier League career, which is something a team that are down in a relegation battle need. They need that sort of double-figure striker. He's gone. So replacing him will be interesting. I don't know who's going to take up his mantle. Maupay. He was good last season, but whether he will take on the responsibility of being the main goal scorer, we shall see. Aaron Moy, of course, has gone as well. He's gone to China. So that creative spark in the middle's gone. I like Brighton as a club. I think they play really good football. And they've done really well to survive last seasons. But I think this season they probably got the 19th worst squad, which is a shame because, like I said, I like them as a club. it's nice that they're in the Premier League, but I just, unless they're sort of key players, they're really, really good seasons, I just can't see them staying up. 18th is another new club. They did very well in the Championship last season. I think they're probably the best team in the second half of the Championship season last year. That's Fulham. They have what most teams around them don't have, and that's a top quality striker. I think Mitrovic. He's done it previous in the Premier League. I think he got 12. Yeah, I think he got 12 goals last time he was in the Premier League, which is solid. So I think if he can continue his form from last season, and there's players behind him and Fulham can improve in the market, then maybe they got a shot. I don't see what Scott Parker necessarily is as a manager. He did well last year, like I said, and he knows the club inside and out. And hopefully he turns into a bit of a Frank Lampard-esque manager where he's young, he's exciting, he's English, and he does really well for himself. But I don't know, I just don't see his way of playing. I don't see a mould, identity of a Scott Parker team, which hopefully will come through. But I think the reason I put Fulham down here, despite I think I've got a very good squad, they kept most of the boys, which they spent so much money on a few seasons ago, is I think that Mitrovic will probably get snapped up in January. I think he'll probably get to double figures by Christmas, and a lot of the teams above him could really need a striker like that. I think, if you look at Everton, they've always struggled to replace Lukaku, and I think Mitrovic is, I would say, I don't think he's far off Lukaku in sort of play style and ability. Other teams, looking at sort of Leicester, Vardy's not going to live forever. So I think teams like that will probably look at Mitrovic in January and think we could do a couple more goals and get him in. So that's what I think is going to relegate Fulham, really. Just not what their squad right now, but what their squad could look like by the end of January. Just missing out on relegation for me, Southampton. They've lost their captain in Højbjerg, who is technically a very good player and also does a lot of the dirty work, which James Ward-Prowse necessarily wouldn't want to do, which Mourinho at Spurs is looking at Højbjerg coming in and doing that dirty work for him. So, yeah, I don't think Danny Ings he was on absolute flames last season. He was unbelievable, but I just don't see him doing it again. I think he's more than capable of hitting another 15-goal season if he gets the right service, but I can't see him scoring. He scored like 21, 22 last season. I can't see him doing that again, which is a shame because I like him. I think having as many good English strikers in the league as possible is good for everyone. But yeah, I just don't see it. But I think they'll just have enough to stay up. I think they just have that quality to stay up, but they could quite easily drop down with a couple of, a sort of 10-game bad run. They could easily find themselves in the bottom three. 16th is a team that battled last season of relegation. They know what it's like to be down there and stay up, and that's Aston Villa. Villa are a team that they have quality throughout. They've got a good manager in Dean Smith. And if you're looking defensively, Tyrone Mings, fully fledged international now, you need to stay consistent. I think Matty Targett is a good little left back. They've brought in that Cash from Nottingham Forest to be right back. I think that's what they're missing last season. They were missing a consistent right back. So I think hopefully he'll step up and he'll do really well for him. In the midfield, obviously you've got Jack Grealish. He's the heart and soul of that squad. If he's the identity, he's not clearly never going to be as good as Messi is, but what Messi is to Barcelona is what Grealish is to Aston Villa. He's that linchpin. He's a local lad. The fans will die for him. He will die for the fans. He's that sort of player. He has had his criticisms over sort of play acting and stuff, but technically he's fantastic and he can grab the game by the scruff of the neck, and he's shown last season he can do it. So I reckon he'll probably do it again. Whether this will be his last season as Villa player, we'll see. We'll know that in the future. I can't predict that now. But yeah, I think they'll have enough to stay up, and I think they'll probably do slightly better than last season. I think they finished 17th last season. I think they'll do slightly better than they did last season, and finish 16th. Up in 15th, I've put Crystal Palace. Again, they've got a talisman, Wilfried Zaha. He's not going to go and score you 20 goals a season. He's not that sort of player. But he will chip in with the important goals. He's their main attacking force. Everything goes through him, and rightly so. He's good enough to play for a bigger team, but it's just not quite happened for him. They're just missing that one target man, that one player who's going to score 15 plus goals a season. Benteke has been shocking for the past couple of seasons. They've brought in that Eze from QPR. He's a good little player, good creative player, good technical player, but he'll create chances, but if they haven't got anyone to finish them, then what's the point, really? So I think if they can get that striker in, maybe they'll push higher up the league. I think Roy Hodgson's a cracking little manager. He's proven, he's done it for donkey's years. He knows his league like the back of his hand. So I think they'll have enough to stay up, and I think they'll finish about 15th. 14th, but Sheffield United. Last season they were everyone's second favourite team, I think. They came in the league, and I think a lot of people predicted them to go straight back down, but they showed that a team ethic and a work for everyone had sort of like the same goal. They were all on the same page. Chris Wilder is a fantastic manager. He set up a team to make it difficult to break them down, but then also has the freedom and ability to push forward. I think they're one of the best teams in the league last season to sort of stick numbers behind the ball defensively, but then break. They weren't afraid to commit numbers to the attack, which I think it really worked well for them last season. But I think this season they might just be found out. Finishing 14th is not a bad season for Sheffield United. I think they'll be very happy with that, to be honest. And they've made a couple of good signings. So, yeah, I think 14th is a pretty good spot for them. 13th, Newcastle United. The takeover didn't happen, which I don't think many people thought would happen. But they've got the players there. I think St. Maximan's a really exciting player. Almiron, if he can pick a bit of form and be consistent, he's a good little playmaker. Joelinton up top isn't really doing it, but I think they got Dwight Gale there, of course, coming back off loan. So if they fancy him, they can stick him in. And yeah, I think they're just a mid-table team. They work hard. There's no real X factor amongst any of them other than St. Maximin. But yeah, this is a good, hard-working team, really. So I'm putting them in 13th. 12th, the last newcomer, and I think the team that's probably got the best chance of ruffling a few feathers this season is Leeds. Bielsa, world-class manager, absolute lunatic, which you all have to see in the Prem. And yeah, I think they just got the ambition and the players to sort of do it. I think Calvin Phillips in midfield was really, really exciting. Got his first England call-up, of course, recently. So Southgate sees something in him. Hopefully he can be as good this season as he was last season. I think Bamford's got a bit of unfinished business in the Premier League. Who else they got? They've signed that Rodrigo, who on the outside looking in looks like a fantastic signing. I don't think he's going to be that good, to be honest. But he's got international quality, so he's going to be an improvement on. He's probably better than all the competitive strikers in that sort of section of the league. So yeah, I think Leeds are going to finish 12th, and renewing the rivalry between Manchester United is going to be really interesting. So it's good to have Leeds back in the Prem. So yeah, I think they're going to finish 12th. 11th, I've gone for Burnley. Sean Dyche's Barmy Army. They always do fantastically well. They're always really hard to break down. And yeah, I just think that they always finish there or thereabouts, and they're going to do it again this season. There's not a huge amount to talk about Burnley, to be honest. So I just think they're going to finish mid-table. 10th, I've gone for West Ham. Terrible season last season for them. They've got the squad to be a mid-table team. I think Anderson, he didn't show what he really can do last season. Haller didn't show up at all. Antonio had to drag him at the end of the season. He really had to he scored four goals in one game just to get him up there. So, yeah, I think they got a good squad, West Ham. Declan Rice is good. They've got a few youngsters coming through, and I think they've got a mid-table squad. What can I say? 9th, Everton. I think most people would put them higher on the transfers they've done, and having Ancelotti, who is one of the world's best managers. But I don't know, if you look deeper into these transfers, Allen is a fantastic pickup. He's one of the most underrated midfielders in Europe over the past couple of seasons. So I'm excited to see him in the Prem. James Rodriguez is the big name to come into the Prem for them. But I just look at his numbers. I know he's been all over the shop, he's not been settled, but he's produced 3 assists in his past 2 seasons. So he's had over the past 2 seasons, he's had 6 assists in the league, and he's had players like Benzema and Lewandowski to feed. So unless he really steps up his game, I just can't see how much Rodriguez coming in and being that linchpin like that Bruno Fernandes, what he did last season for Manchester United. I can't see him doing that for Everton. So that's why I think he's gonna finish 9th, Everton, this season, which is a good finish for them, to be honest. 8th, I've gone Leicester. I think Vardy obviously won the Golden Boot last season. He was on absolute flames, but he's 33. It's gonna come to a point where he's gonna drop off, and I think that could be this season. They've got players like Iheanacho, Slimani coming back in. It was a good season at Monaco, so they've got replacements in there already. But I just don't think Maddison's a cracking little player. They've got good players all over the squad. They've got a very good squad, and Brendan Rodgers is a very good manager. But looking at the teams above them, I think they're probably, with Leicester, they can finish anywhere between 5th and 12th for me this season. But I think 8th is probably a good little place for them to be sat. So yeah, Leicester are 8th for me. 7th is Portugal. Sorry, Wolves. They got a cracking manager. Losing Doherty to Spurs, an interesting one for me. It's a direct rival, so I don't know why that move's happened. So we'll see who they can fit in there and who can replace there. Traore, cracking little player, got the X factor, can do whatever he wants on the pitch. Jimenez, I honestly think he is the best number 9 in the league. They're better strikers, they're better forwards, but as a number 9, as a classic number 9, I think Jimenez is fantastic. So I expect another big season from him. They've just signed that Fabian Silva from Porto, but he's like 17, so he's going to be a future star, that they hope. And yeah, I think they've got a really good squad. Connor Cody at the back is brilliant. Yeah, I just think they're one of the best teams in the league. So I think 7th is pretty spot on. 6th, I've gone for Arsenal. Aubameyang FC. It seems that only Aubameyang can score for them, which is an issue for them, because in order for them to challenge and do anything this season, they need more than Aubameyang. They can't just rely on him to score 20 plus goals a season, which I'm sure that he will do, but they need other people to step up. And I think I don't know, I like Arteta. Obviously, he was the understudy for Pep for 3 or 4 seasons, which is not a bad place to be at all. But yeah, I just don't think Arsenal have the quality anymore. They got quality throughout the squad, and drips and drabs, but I just don't think they have the squad to compete. I think they'll do well in the FA Cup, as they always do. But other than that, I think the most exciting thing about Arsenal this season is going to be Arsenal fan TV. Probably a bit harsh, but there you go. 5th, just missing out on the top spot, is Spurs. I think they'll be in a better position this season than they were last season. With Mourinho having his first full season, I think he will shore him up at the back. Losing Vertonghen is big, because he's been ever present for 8 seasons or whatever it is. So, replacing him, I think probably Sanchez will slip straight in, or Dyer probably drop back, potentially. And then you've got Doherty, like I said recently. He will compete with Aurier at right back, which is probably good for them. Midfielder, I think Lo Celso is not shown his best football yet. He's a cracking little player. I think he's now settled. So I think he'll be one to look out for this season, is Lo Celso. I don't know how good he's going to be statistically, so sort of like goal involvement. I'm not sure how impressive it will look on there, but just all-round football, all-round game, he's quality. So I think he'll be huge. I think this pandemic has done wonders for Harry Kane. I think he's not been truly fit for a number of seasons, but having this 5-month break is going to be massive for him. Hopefully he comes back and proves that he is fully fit and he has another good season. I think Son is class. So having those two up top consistently would be massive. I think Dele Alli, he's been good, but he needs another fantastic season. I think there's a lot of hype about him. I think that's dropped off. Rightly or wrongly or rightly, I don't know. But I think Spurs have players there. They have genuine world beaters in that squad. And if they can all play consistently, then they'll be a match for anyone. But I think they'll just miss out on top 4. So I think I'm going 5th. 4th, I've got Manchester United. Full season for Bruno. It'll be interesting to see how he gets on. Just signed Van de Beek, which I think a lot of people think he's just going to sit next to Pogba and be the defensive player they've been looking for, but he's not like that. He's more of an attacking player, to be honest. I think he'd be more rotation between him and Bruno Fernandes than him playing or them playing together. But it's a good signing, don't get me wrong. And they've got Wan-Bissaka back there. They've got Maguire had a good season. I think Dean Henderson will be pushing for first team minutes. So De Gea's got there's a really good competition for goalkeepers in Manchester United, which is good for them. Rashford is looking like he's growing game by game. He's improved every single season. And Martial as well. I think he's always been that player where if he's on it, he's fantastic, and he's normally not on it. But last season he showed glimpses. If he can be consistent, I think anything. If Martial can be consistent, he could be a 20-goal a season striker. Greenwood, he was class last season. If he can continue that, then they've got a real special player on their hands. Whether he can or not, who knows? We shall see. I hope he does. He's naturally bow-footed, which is a rarity in football at the minute. I think going forward, Man United look very, very good. I think they got a good squad. I think they've got the 4th best squad in the league. So that's why they're 4th. 3rd, I think top 3 is not going to be as runaway as last season. Chelsea obviously have improved massively. in the players they've brought in. I think they're going to be a lot closer than they were last season. The gap's not going to be 17 points like it was. But I think Chelsea are going to finish third. They're going to be so much more competitive this season. Werner is an absolute goal machine. Havertz, which they've now signed, is future German superstar. Hakim Ziyech has been doing it in Europe for years, whether he can transfer that across to the Premier League. Thiago Silva, I think he's not going to come in and be, starting every single game and being, the talisman and he back there, but he's a quality player. Chilwell, they've been looking for a left back for a number of seasons. He's that man. Spent a lot of money on him, but if it works out and they do well in the season, then it'd be worth it. And yeah, I think pressure's on Frank this season. I think with the signings he's made and what he did last season, they need to win something. Whether I don't think it'll be the Prem, maybe the Transfer FA Cup. They're in the Champions League, maybe they do well there. But yeah, I think Chelsea finished third. Top two, I think Liverpool are going to do it again this year. So I'm going to put City in second. I think City have the best squad in the league, but defensively, I don't think they're good enough defensively. Laporte is world class. They brought in Ake, of course, but he's also a left-sided centre back, so I think he'll rotate with Laporte. I think Ake will be there for the games Laporte needs resting, and they still need that right-sided centre back, which Ake's not. So yeah, if they can lower that down, which Koulibaly's linked, then maybe I'll change my mind. Left back's an issue with them. I think Mendy is good when he's fit, but he's not always fit. And we know what Man City are like going forward. Ferran Torres has been pipped to be the next future Spanish superstar. So hopefully we just to see how they rotate. Because obviously they've got Mahrez there, they've got Sterling, Sane is gone. They've got Jesus, Aguero. They've got so many good players up there. But I think they'll score the most goals in the league, but I think they'll also concede more than other teams around them. Hence why I think they will just miss out. I think they will miss out by maybe 3 or 4 points this season. I think it's going to come down to the wire. I think Liverpool are going to do it again. They've proven the last 2 seasons that they are probably one of the best teams in Europe. The front three is exceptional. I think they need some reinforcements behind them. They've got Minamino, who will be like a brand new sign this season. He's looked really, really fresh and sharp in pre-season. And I think he'll be good sort of rotational coming in and out. Thiago Silva, if they sign Thiago Alcantara, if they sign Thiago Alcantara, I think that'll be a difference between winning the league and not winning the league. He's that good. If they don't, they'll have a real issue. If they can get him over the line, which they should, they really, really should, then they will be the team to beat, I think, for me. Van Dijk is the best centre-back in the world. Trent Alexander-Arnold, up there, best right-back. Robertson, up there with best left. I mean, there's so many options. So, yeah, I think Liverpool they've been consistent the past 2 seasons. I think they'll continue that consistency, and I think they'll end up winning the league. That's my views. To run through, I'm going to go for West Brom 20th, Brighton and Fulham. They'll be the relegated teams. Southampton 17th, Aston Villa 16th, Crystal Palace 15th, Sheffield United 14th, Newcastle 13th, Leeds 12th, Burnley 11th, West Ham 10th, Everton 9th, Leicester 8th, Wolves 7th, Arsenal 6th, Tottenham 5th, Man United 4th, Chelsea 3rd, City 2nd, Liverpool champions. I think that's it for me. Looking forward to our players one next week. I'll have a good stat and getting properly deep involved in sort of like the analytics of a player. Gets me fizzing. So that's my input on this week's podcast. Cheers for listening. Cheers and goal.